welcome to the next video. And today we're going to be talking about or addressing the question, what is sleep paralysis? Now I'm going to be talking about sleep paralysis as well as a couple of unconventional ideas about sleep paralysis. But first let's discuss what is sleep paralysis. So almost everyone or most people have had or will have at least once in their lives the experience of waking up from sleep only to find themselves completely paralyzed, not being able to move, and a lot of the times not being able to breathe. That experience in clinical terms is called sleep paralysis. So basically, when you fall asleep and get into the dream state or REM, rapid eye movement state, what happens is your body naturally falls into something called as sleep apnea. Now apnea is your body's natural mechanism to paralyze itself so you do not act out your dreams. A lot of the people who have defected apnea are the ones who start sleepwalking or acting out their dreams where you have a hand flying off, you're sleeping next to somebody and you get back in the middle of the night. Yeah, that's pretty much because of defective sleep apnea. So basically what happens is that sometimes you have chemical imbalances in your brain, and chemicals like neurotransmitters like melatonin and serotonin, sometimes what happens is that because of the imbalance, your brain wakes up faster than your body. So you'll end up being awake, but then your body is still paralyzed and your muscles are completely weak. Now because what has happened is that now you're in between states. You're in between the REM dream state and you're in between REM dream state and the waking state, the waking reality. So what happens is, even though you believe that you're completely awake, you're still susceptible to hallucinations. Now, under sleep paralysis, a lot of people report all kinds of experiences, but some of the most common ones is the distortion of your senses, wherein you will begin to, and listen to me carefully when I say this, but you will begin to smell colors. I know I've done that. You'll begin to see sounds. So it's not something that is and at that point in time you won't even question the fact that your senses are all wrong and it's all interpreting things wrongly, but that's actually what happens. The other very common experience, very common, and I'm talking about very common as in 90% of the people who have reported sleep paralysis have had this experience, and that is that there is something or somebody or some sort of creature inside your room. Clinically, there are two kinds of sleep paralysis. One is called the ISP, which is isolated sleep paralysis, wherein you have the experience only once in your lifetime. And then you have RISP, which is recurrent isolated sleep paralysis, where you have it over and over again. Now, over the years, sleep paralysis has been depicted in hundreds of cultures across the world. It is so common that almost every culture has some sort of literature or some sort of art that has depicted this experience. But mostly a lot of the cultures look at the experience as being some sort of demonic visitation. That is like the cultural aspect of it. In fact, there are two extremely famous paintings and one sculpture which shows the demon actually sitting on the person's chest, because you feel extremely heavy when you have this experience that your chest feels like something is pressing down on it. So there's a couple of paintings actually, one of which is extremely scary because it shows the ghoulish look on the demon. So I'll probably link that up here, put it somewhere in the video. But yeah, so throughout, a lot of cultures talk about it as being some sort of demonic visitation. Clinically, in clinical sciences, it's even more scarier because clinical sciences associate this experience of sleep paralysis with narcolepsy. Now, narcolepsy is a disease that some people have, wherein they're completely awake and they're at the beta state of functioning, where they're driving their car or they're having a conversation with you, and out of the blue, all of a sudden, within a second, these people go into deep sleep. They just randomly just fall into deep sleep. And a lot of the people who have narcolepsy are reported to have sleep paralytic experiences. So, categories. One is ISP, isolated sleep paralysis, where you experience it only once in your lifetime. And then there is RISP, wherein you experience it over and over again. Now, there is the people who have RISP clinically are people who have some sort of a mental disorder or narcoleptic disorder. But then there's a third kind, and yes, science has recognized this kind. The third kind, which is people who have RISP, recurrent isolated sleep paralysis, over and over and over again, but they are not narcoleptic or have any sort of mental disorder. Now, me and my friends, a lot of my friends, we fall under the third category, wherein we have a lot of sleep paralytic episodes, but we don't have, if you're wondering how much of chemical imbalances do you have that you keep having these experiences, here's the difference. We actually induce sleep paralysis because we've learned to take advantage. So far I've talked to you about two stages of being between states, between waking life and between and the dream state. So what happens in us per se is that through this state we can either fall into a lucid dream, wherein consciously fall back into REM dream state and be conscious of the fact that you're dreaming, and know that there are infinite possibilities within your dream state and take advantage of that, or we push ourselves out and have an out-of-body experience or an astral projection experience. Now, for all of you who, I know I've decided to talk about this now because a lot of people have been talking to me about this. So I know that you've had your first sleep paralytic attack and you're wondering, what do I do the next time? Okay, first off, you have two options. Okay, you can either snap out of it, because it is extremely scary, because you can have you'd have encounters with all kinds of beings within that state. You can snap out of it, and what I do to snap out of it is there are three ways of snapping out of it. First way, and this is advice that I've been giving to people for years, and it's worked for everybody. So I'm hoping it works for you too, and I'm pretty sure it will, because it's worked so far. But the next time you find yourself in sleep paralysis, try to move your toe, any one of your toes, and keep moving it. And for around, if you do it for, I know your muscles are extremely weak, but if you do it and try to do it for around 5-10 seconds, you should be able to snap out. That is the first kind. Second kind is that sometimes when you wiggle your toe and you're trying to snap out of it, you'll end up snapping out of it, but into a dream. As in, a lot of times, and I know this happens to all my friends, it's happened to all of them, and it's happened to me as well, that you wiggle your toe and then you think you're awake, but then you've actually falsely awoken into another dream. But couple of more false awakenings and you're going to wake up. You'll always wake up, okay? Don't get paranoid that you're not going to wake up. And the third kind is setting an alarm. When you set an alarm externally, it will wake you up. A friend of mine had this experience where she was caught in sleep paralysis, and there was some sort of being holding her extremely tight, and she couldn't breathe and all that, and she was panicking, and her mom was knocking at the door, and she was she was asking her to wake up. So, and she couldn't move, and you can't even talk, by the way, when you're in sleep paralysis. You can't scream. No matter how much you try to scream, you're absolutely paralyzed. You cannot breathe. It's really frightening. but she couldn't do that. But despite all the external stimuli, it took her a while to actually get out of the sleep paralysis, and she got really mad. Sometimes it is really pissing off. But what I found is that the more you struggle within your sleep paralysis, the slower your process of waking up is going to be. So the more you chill out and realize that everything, all the demons and all the, whatever you're seeing outside of yourself, um, during the sleep paralytic experience is only a projection of your mind. It's absolutely that. There is no demons. There are no demons. Okay, because a lot of people manifest that scrawny looking character from Lord of the Rings. A lot of people see that guy coming up and multiple of them coming and jumping around him and crawling all over you. A lot of that happens. It's all a projection of the mind. So yeah, so the third part would be setting an alarm, which is important. Now, so wiggle your toes, false awakenings, you'll eventually wake up, and setting an alarm. But for the ones who want to actually experience what this state can offer you, most psychiatrists and therapists who talk to people with sleep paralytic experiences tell them to embrace the experience and actually explore further. And I would totally agree, because I've had tens and tens and tens of sleep paralytic experiences, and what I've noticed, again, this is the part where this is the non-conventional idea about sleep paralysis that I'm telling you guys now. I don't know if this has ever been told before, but this is through my experience. And that is that I have noticed that when my internal state of being, or my state of being, was in a negative space, or I was really low in vibration, or my room was negative and cluttered with a lot of energy, when things were of that sort of when it was all negative and I fell into sleep paralysis, I would end up having demonic encounters with negative entities and demonic beings. But I decided to turn that over. So I cleansed my room once. I cleansed it. I sat in meditation and I meditated on the energy of love and light, and I filled my entire room with light. And ever since then, every time I've fallen into sleep paralysis, whether it's happened because of imbalances or whether I've induced it, I have only had positive experiences where I've met absolutely beautiful light beings. I have met angelic beings. I have met and it's basically a projection of your own emotional state, and you allow that sort of experience to come to you. So most people who have demonic visitations in this state are just people who are pretty negative from inside. So I think that's what you should change. And you can, mostly sleep paralysis won't happen to you over and over again unless you set an intent to having it over and over again, because that's what we did. And I think it is, like I told you, it is easy to fall back into lucid dreaming, and it is easy to have an out-of-body experience when you're at that state. So next time you're in sleep paralysis, first off recognize that you're in sleep paralysis. Second off, know that this is very, very common. It is so common. It's not some sort of abnormal paranormal behavior or a paranormal event. Know that it is normal human experiences. It's part of being human. And know that you have an option to either snap out or actually go and see what works for you. So I'm going to end this video at that. I will put up some links down so you can study the psychopathology and the science behind it. You can do that. I'll also put up some links of the Gaulish paintings and all of that. So my last advice, I would end by saying, don't be frightened. The more you're frightened, the worse you're just going to keep being stuck there. But embrace it, have fun with it, and just relax and probably wiggle your toe if you need to get out. So I hope this experience, I hope this helped you, and once again I'm just gonna end by saying again, last time, it is normal. There is nothing abnormal about it. We've all had it. Everyone, I mean everyone I know has had it at least once. So chill out. It's all good. Okay. So I'm gonna go now and catch you for another video. Please, all the YouTube stuff. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like, share. Yes, the holy five. Please do that. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Bye.